Talking about it all day. Where will Shedeur Sanders land? The Steelers are the betting favorites to take him at number 21. What are you hearing?
Well, there could be a conversation that needs to be had if and when Shedeur Sanders makes it to 21, if he even does, right? That's what you have to go through all these picks for. But if Shedeur Sanders happens to be there for Pittsburgh at 21, I would think that there's going to be an organizational conversation about whether this is the pick that they want to make. I think Mike Tomlin, the head coach, is a fan of Shedeur Sanders. I think Arthur Smith, the offensive coordinator, is a fan of Shedeur Sanders. Now, this is a team that has other needs as well. They still could use defensive lineup. They still could use running back. They still could use help elsewhere. So do you want to do that? Let's also keep in mind the Steelers don't have a second-round draft pick that went to Seattle for DK Metcalf, so they can't wait for the second round to get a quarterback because by the time that pick comes around, it's not theirs. They'd have to wait till the third round. So, again, I would expect there to be a long, hard conversation that would involve ownership that would determine whether or not Pittsburgh picks Shedeur Sanders, and I think everybody's waiting to see what the final answer will be.
Yeah, regardless of where he lands, we'll be talking about it for weeks to come. So with Cam Ward, he's expected to hear his name called first overall by Tennessee. So let's focus on picks 2 through 4. What can you share about Cleveland's plans right now?
Well, look, everybody has heard them talk about Travis Hunter, and the Browns general manager, Andrew Berry, compared him to Shohei Ohtani. So anytime you get a GM comparing a player to Ohtani, that gives you an idea of how strongly that they feel about a certain player. The Browns also, it's been out there that they've entertained calls. Nobody believes that that's going to happen right now. And so the Cleveland Browns will continue to sit there in the power position at number 2 with the chance to get the player that many people believe is the best player in the draft, Travis Hunter. The New York Giants would be on the clock. A lot of mystery and intrigue about whether they would take quarterback at number 3. It doesn't feel that way, but it can't be ruled out. And Abdul Carter clearly would be a player in play in that slot at number 3. The Giants have drafted Kayvon Thibodeau to rush the passer. They could be drafting Abdul Carter here to complement Brian Burns as well. Would give the Giants a tremendous pass rush, and that would leave the New England Patriots sitting at number 4. Clearly, at one point, the Patriots could have had the top pick. They fell back to number 4, and the people across the league believe that left tackle Will Campbell is Mike Vrabel's kind of player. Bring your lunch pail, guy who loves football, guy who exerts maximum effort, and so Will Campbell could be on the clock at number 4. So really, it looks like right now the first 4 picks in order would be Ward, Hunter, Carter, and Campbell. That's the way it's shaping up going in to tonight's draft.
Okay, we'll see what exactly happens eventually later tonight. Let's talk about the Cowboys because we can't do anything without talking about them. They have the 12th pick. Jerry Jones said Tuesday that Dallas is working on, quote, substantive trades. What is the latest with Dallas?
Well, there have been no trades so far for the Dallas Cowboys. I'm not sure that any is close in sight. Obviously, everybody is manning the phones right now, taking calls about moving up or moving back in the draft. But if Dallas sticks where it is right now, at the 12th overall pick, I think a lot of people across the league believe that they could be in the market for a wide receiver. Obviously, there's the Micah Parsons contractual situation, but they need help passing, somebody to complement CeeDee Lamb. And it looks like a wide receiver could very well be in the mix for the Dallas Cowboys at number 12. If they stay there, there could be any number of targets. Ted McMillan, Matthew Golden, 2 wide receivers that I think would get the Cowboys' attention and could be in play at number 12.
Everybody, of course, waiting for Shedeur Sanders and where he lands and waiting to see if Dallas does something smart with their NFL draft pick. Draft weekend would not be as fun without some trades. We haven't seen any yet. So which teams are you hearing could be the most active?
Well, Christine, if we look at the back of the background, we've seen the Texans general manager, Nick Caserio, make at least 3 trades per draft for each of the drafts that he's been in charge of for the Houston Texans. The Philadelphia Eagles have 20 picks over the next 2 drafts. They're armed with a lot of draft capital. There's the Texans draft pick capital. And again, they have the ability and the ammunition to make some moves here. And there's already been talk about Houston trying to move up in the draft. There's Philadelphia's draft capital, 8 picks this year, another 12 next year. They're sitting there at 32 where somebody might want to come up and take a quarterback potentially. They do have needs at safety, defensive tackle, linebacker. We'll see how it shakes out, but there's been no trade so far, but I would think tonight it'll start picking up, and it'll start picking up rapidly tonight.
All right, it is Christmas morning for Adam Schefter. Everyone at home, you know the drill. Keep your eyes and ears on Adam. You know something is going to break very soon. Adam Schefter, enjoy your day. Thank you.
They need to continue to build around him, but with the skill positions, having a DK Metcalf and at least right now a George Pickens, a Pat Freiermuth gives him an opportunity to distribute the football the way we watched him do at Colorado behind a bad offensive line. But the one thing that you see about Shedeur Sanders is he's even moved further back in some of these mock drafts. And so that tells me that some of the things the Shefters and the Mel Kipers and the Phil Yates are hearing is that Shedeur Sanders could slip. So the Steelers at 21 will be an extremely interesting pick.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point that RC just made, is the fact that Shedeur is dropping, but Pittsburgh does need a quarterback. Is that a good fit for Shedeur?
100%. And number one, I would say this. When you look at all these draft prospects and the ability to be drafted, it's not about what number you're drafted, but the situation that you're drafted into. Culture means everything. And what better culture for Shedeur Sanders than the Pittsburgh Steelers? You talk about only having 3 coaches since 1969 when you had Chuck Noll. Then you had Bill Cowher, and now Mike Tomlin currently, who's the head coach of this football team. And RC just alluded to it. You look at the 2 wide receivers that they have, 2 number 1 physical specimens out wide on the outside. But then you have a guy that can be your security blanket in Pat Freiermuth. You have Jalen Warren still. They have a young offensive line. They have really invested into that offensive line over the last few years. Those guys can grow together along with Shedeur Sanders, and I love Arthur Smith as a play caller, so I'm really looking forward to Shedeur. If he's there at 21, going to the Steelers.
It's like a game we could play. Rodgers, Shedeur, the field for the Steelers, which I think we'll play at a later date, not today. RC, what we do know is that Cam Ward expected to hear his name called first by Tennessee, but then Cleveland picks number 2. What should Cleveland do with that second pick?
Pick a unicorn. You know, like when you're a little girl, you dream of princesses, and when we're little boys, we look at you guys and say, okay, they want princesses, and also they want a unicorn, right? Because women want the world. You learn that once you get married. And so to me, that's exactly what the Cleveland Browns have an opportunity to do, right? They have an opportunity to draft a guy in Travis Hunter who is adept at making plays on the offensive side of the ball as he is on the defensive side of the ball. To me, the best ball skills in all of this draft, and someone who we already know is comfortable with putting in the work to excel at 2 separate positions. And if you're the Cleveland Browns, you're stacked defensively at the cornerback position, but to add him to that wide receiver room would be huge.
Very interesting analogy that RC just said. Cleveland Browns, they're the woman in this situation. They could either get Travis Hunter or they could get Abdul Carter. Who makes more sense, do you think, for Cleveland?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Travis Hunter, a guy that can play on the offensive side of the ball, and that's why I would start him off. You talk about being able to learn a playbook. That would be feasible for Travis Hunter to start out that way. But you talk about the body control, the ability to run routes. Natural ball catcher with his hands. You look at his pro day.